Hello, today I'm with Michael Moszynski, the co-founder and CEO of London Advertising. The reason I'm speaking to Michael today is that London very recently took the unusual step of creating an advertising campaign specifically for themselves. We can have a wee look at some of the creative of that later on in the video. But for the moment, hello Michael, how are you doing this morning?
All very good. Yeah, very busy, which is good.
Good. Now, obviously, we've been all living through a fairly unprecedented situation for the last few months. So can you tell me a little bit about your business to begin with? I mean, when was it founded? What's been the kind of core strength of the business up until now? And what was the ultimate effect of the pandemic outbreak and the lockdown that we've experienced since the start of this year?
Well, my creative partner, Helen, and I have worked together for 25 years. Most of that time was previously working with the Saatchi brothers, where we set up businesses for them in New York, London, Hong Kong, Middle East and Africa. So we worked internationally all over the world. And what we realized is that clients around the world see that London is the best place for international creativity. And 10 years ago, when we decided to set up our own business, we wanted to own that proposition. So that's why we're called London Advertising. And we have one office in London. As a new way of working, we pioneered how to use the internet to deliver international creativity anywhere in the world. And since we started, we've actually run ads in more countries than WPP has offices. So we've been able to prove our capability.
Okay.
And in terms of the impact of the virus, I think, advertising is always the first to be hit and hardest in any downturn. And this one particularly hit us hard because a lot of our clients were in sectors like international travel that particularly got badly damaged, and a lot of campaigns and revenue were put on hold. So we wanted to focus on doing something constructive whilst we were all working from home during lockdown, and not just crying our soup. And we asked ourselves a very simple question, which is, if a client was in the situation we were in, what would we advise them to do? And the answer is advertise. So we thought, well, why don't we take some of our own advice? And it's not just our own advice. People like the IPA have been running a lot of reports showing that, statistically, evidence from previous downturns is that for those clients that continue to advertise in a downturn, they will be able to get an increase in market share versus their competitors who don't. Now, because, as you say, it's very unusual for an advertising agency to advertise, given that I can't think of any other creative agency who are advertising, we felt, well, this would be a super chance for us to demonstrate our capability on ourselves as a showcase, but also as a way of demonstrating to businesses that are also needing to boost their revenue and to increase their market share, that we would be an agile and effective agency for them to work with.
Yeah, that as you say that, Michael, that all makes kind of perfect sense. But why do you think it has been so unusual for agencies like yourself to use their own skills to promote themselves in this way? What has been the sticking point in the past?
It's interesting. I got a very lovely note from Professor Byron Sharp, because a lot of the way that we think about how we create our advertising is very much in keeping with his principles about, shall we say, mental availability. So keeping the brand awareness up in most in people's minds. And he commented that it was very ironic that most agencies use PR. Whereas we're one of the few to use advertising, and other people have said that actually the campaign we've done, which has 9,000 spots on Sky TV, has dozens of super premium outdoor all over the UK, is actually the biggest ad campaign ever produced by an ad agency. So why don't they do it? Well, I guess you need to ask them, but the usual sort of argument is, well, it's sort of business to business, and the way that the sales process work is incredibly long-term, and you build relationships, and it's one-to-one. But, as I mentioned earlier, my partner and I work for the Saatchis. We understood from working there that the power of having a well-known name is really important, and it opens doors and actually the job of new business director at Saatchi's in the 1980s was to take phone calls of people wanting to work with him rather than calling up clients asking if the agency could work with them.
Yeah.
So, although our objective for this campaign was very much about that role of creating some fame for people to know us, to be able to reference us in the context of a company that, for most of our work, appears internationally. So we're not in the pages of, the trade press for campaigns we're doing in the UK. So we recognised we needed to increase our profile. And the extraordinary thing is, after day 2, I actually got a phone call from a client based in Jersey saying they wanted to do a campaign in the UK. And I said, that's lovely, and we're preparing a plan for them now. I just said, well, how did you come to hear us about us? And said, I saw your advertising on Sky TV. So
already, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. And how does that feel to be on the kind of receiving end of that attention for once?
Well, it's interesting. Somebody else asked me, what's it like seeing the campaign up and running? And actually I said, well, it's very different, because we are not only the agency who's responsible for making it, but we are actually the client, and it's got our name on it. And I was driving my daughter through West London to go to school, and came past the Holland Park roundabout, and there were 3 massive, bright digital poster sites, and another one as you go up to the M40, and then a couple in Hammersmith. And the way that my partner Helen has art directed the work is to be it's all about standing out. And that's going back to Byron Sharp. If you want to increase mental availability, you've got to do work that stands out. And I think this is also very important when you think about what is the challenge for advertising today. Mm-hmm. And when you look at correctly attributed advertising recall, so people who remember an ad and then remember the brand it's for, mm-hmm. It's declined significantly over the last few decades from near 40% down to only 8%. What does that tell us? It tells us that 92% of the media that clients spend on advertising is wasted. I think that is appalling. And that, when we set up the agency, is the enemy that we are designed as a company to fight. And again, if you look at in our website and in our materials, we talk about, what we describe as brilliant work is work that is going to be effective for our clients. If an ad doesn't sell, it's not creative. That's our attitude. And to make brilliant work, it has to do 3 things. First of all, it has to be noticed. If you're not noticed, you're not even in the starting gate. Secondly, it has to be simple to stand out from all the competitive clutter. People are bombarded by 5,000 different messages a day. So you have to stand out. And then thirdly, you have to make sure that the advertising is remembered by, attributed to the correct advertiser. And that's what we built all our work around. And we wanted this campaign to demonstrate our philosophy in action. So I would argue it's very simple. It had to be, because we had to produce it during the downturn. We couldn't do any live shoots. So it's tight-led. Doesn't cost a fortune. But, a good idea doesn't need a big budget.
Okay. Well, I think now would be a good moment for us to have a look at some of the actual creative itself, and then we'll come back and discuss that afterwards. So let's have a look at some of that now.
We believe if you advertise through a crisis or recession, when your competitors aren't spending, you will gain market share. That's why London advertising is advertising. This is an advert for London advertising.
Of all the adverts you've seen in the last 24 hours, how many do you remember? Let's hope you remember this one. This is an advert for London advertising.
Are you a company owner, a chief executive officer, a managing director, a chief marketing officer, or a marketing director? Good. This advert is aimed at you. This is an advert for London advertising.
It doesn't cost a fortune to make a memorable TV campaign, just a memorable idea. This is an advert for London Advertising.
All right, fantastic. So, viewers with a keen ear there will have recognised a couple of famous names along the way, namely Dame Helen Mirren and Liam Neeson, two obviously people from the UK, but Hollywood A-listers. It's quite a coup to get those guys involved in a campaign at such short notice. Can you tell me a little bit about how that would have come about?
Well, again, I think it's a tribute to our team. The team who produced this work, none of us saw each other from the start of the process to the ads running. We were all working from home remotely, and we, have a Zoom call where we catch up on all the latest issues. And in one of those calls, Alan, my partner, showed everyone the TV work which he'd recorded with his own voice. He's got a great voice, and he knew exactly the intonation he needed to deliver to make the ads work. And one of the team said, "Yeah, Alan," and this is quite brave. Alan's not the most. Anyway, he's a lovely chap, but he's very strong. Anyway, somebody said, "Look, your voice is very good, but wouldn't it be great if we had, somebody with a very distinctive, voice that would lift the campaign?" And to his credit, he said, "Yeah, that would be great, but we don't have, the means to get one." And we discussed it, and we actually worked with quite a few of the Hollywood A-listers for our campaign Mandarin Oriental.
Yeah.
And we build very long-term relationships with those individuals. So we've known Helen and Liam for 14 years. They come to events and have taken part in the advertising, which is very rare. I mean, they do very little advertising at all. And what's particularly rare about that Mandarin Oriental campaign, that He's a Fan, She's a Fan campaign, is that we don't pay them. They get a charity donation to a charity of their choice and some room nights on occasion. So we had done a project with Peter Blake where we were auctioning off fragments of his largest ever artwork that he produced for us for covering the Mandarin Oriental in London during its renovations. And
yes,
we auctioned those fragments off for charity. So again, through that, we had this relationship, and I said to the team, "Look, it'll be 1,000,000 to 1 shot, but I will write to them and ask them through their agents." And again, we built a good relationship with their agents. And to my complete astonishment, both of them said yes. So we ended up with half of the ads recorded by Helen and half by Liam. And we're incredibly grateful to them and their agents for doing this for us. And it comes back to, our business is all about relationships. And I think one of the things that I'm very proud of with our company is we do seem to achieve very strong relationships, which are not based on money, but on personal trust and doing good by people and doing good for others. And I think that's, in this environment, very important, that we're not just thinking of ourselves. So one of the ambitions of our campaign was also to promote advertising, that we are promoting messages that advertising does pay, that advertising is good to continue to do during recession. All of the good things that people like the IP are saying, but we felt it was important as an individual agency that we supported that.
Yeah, of course. And I think the campaign, from what I've saw of it, does that extremely well. So you mentioned a little bit of the feedback that you've had so far in terms of the campaign. Is there any? Has there been any feedback or reaction that's caught you by surprise? I mean, it's still early days in the campaign, I know, but is there anything that's come back so far? Oh, I didn't expect that to be an outcome.
I've been hugely heartened by the support of many people in the industry who have sent me personal letters of congratulations and encouraging us for what we're doing. So I'd like to thank all of them. I have seen a few, it's quite amusing, some people have been obviously looking at their LinkedIn and seeing our poster sites, the size of a postage stamp, and were commenting about the art direction. And I replied, I think you just need to get out a bit more and actually look at them. They're designed to work as, 90-foot wide posters. So they work in the medium for which they've been designed to do. We will be doing some social media that starts next week, but we wanted people to see this is a real campaign with real paid for advertising that builds a brand awareness. And I think, I've heard a lot from clients and agencies talking about, oh, we need to all switch to digital first. Now, everything today is digital. So, whether you're watching a TV program or seeing a poster, most of it's digital today. But, if you look back at how the successful big tech companies advertise, what they do is they use TV and outdoor. Because they are actually very good at knowing what impacts on their sales online. So we are following what we believe works for any client, which is, if you want to get brand awareness going, you need to be not just in, if you like, things that are the size of a postage stamp on your phone. You also need to be in broadcast if you are going to, because those media haven't gone away. They are effective today, and we also recognise that actually, as so many advertisers had dropped out of those broadcast media, and for example, TV audiences are actually significantly up, that airtime costs are lower. So from a purely financial and what we could buy for our money, we've been able to get a much bigger campaign than had we been buying it at the top of the economic cycle.
Yeah, it does surprise me sometimes when clients have a particular focus on digital without really seeming to understand the interplay between, well, new media, if we're still calling it that, and traditional media. Because a very obvious example is if you look at the trends on Twitter of any evening, those are comprising of what's on the telly at that point. People are responding to what's on the TV and then using the Twitter as a way to converse about that, So there's still a very strong interplay between all the branches of the media, I think.
Certainly, the visits to our website are up 2,000% since, and the campaign's only been running a couple of days.
Sure.
I would ask your viewers the question, can you think, when was the last time you can remember an advertising agency advertising themselves? Now, I'm sure pretty much all of them do it, both with some paid media and social or a bit of online work. But no one remembers it. No one notices it. So if you really want to, it comes back to your objective. If you want to build some fame, some brand awareness, which will then improve all of the metrics on your performance marketing, it's all about doing what you believe in. And we believe for our clients, and that's why we're doing it for ourselves, that still broadcast media will improve what you achieve with all of your online and digital communications as well.
Fantastic. All right, Michael, just one thing I just wanted to touch on before we finish off is that you mentioned that obviously London is an international agency, an agency that's international in its outlook, but it does operate one central office in London. And I know you've got an ambassador program where you have ambassadors or representatives in various territories. But given the way that the pandemic has happened and the subsequent lockdown and the massive rise and increase in everyone working from home, has your business model been advantageous to that in some respects, in that you're not trying to coordinate a globally distributed agency organisation?
Well, that's a really interesting question. And I guess because we had been operating this model internationally, we work with people and talent and strategic planners, copywriters all over the world, using what means that everyone has now started to do within the UK. So we were already there, and for us it wasn't, it was hardly a change. Yeah. We stopped meeting in the office, but the actual way of working was something that was ingrained in, and again, I'll come back to the team we have working for us are just brilliant. It's like a well-oiled machine that was able to step into action. I mean, we've been doing a whole series of travel recovery work for our client Mandarin Oriental, working with some of our celebrity talent to go and visit some of the locations as they're starting to open up. And in fact, on this Monday, one of the most followed individuals in China is visiting a hotel in Europe. Confidential reasons, I'm not going to explain who at this time, but we were able to organise all of that during this challenging period, and the campaign that will result from it will be seen by tens of millions of people, because we're using in this instance a predominantly social media-led campaign. So it's horses for courses. We've already built the brand awareness of that clientele, and what we need to do is help them demonstrate to people around the world that it's now safe to go travelling and stay in beautiful places, because guess what? A lot of people have had been frustrated and are now looking to have those moments of surprise and delight.
Fantastic. And internally, from an internal organisation point of view, the fact that you can't now congregate in a central office and you're having to manage your team via a remote working arrangement, how have you found that personally from a for want of a better word, a managerial point of view? Have you found that difficult or demanding in any way?
Yes, you just need to make sure that people are engaged and have opportunities to join in and contribute. So you sort of need to think about that a bit more. But in terms of one of the observations people said was that one of the benefits of congregating together is actually to enhance creativity. And I would say that what we found is that because of the regular Zoom calls and setting challenges, we talked about industries that were suffering, and each person went away and thought about how we could approach a particular sector and offer our creative skills to help them. And that was including a young intern who came up with a brilliant idea for promoting hidden gems in the UK, because we understood that Wales, Cornwall, Lake District were going to be absolutely jam-packed, and what we needed to do was help people be aware of other places to visit in the UK. And she came up with a fantastic campaign idea, which was pictures of a lavender field that you were dreaming of Provence, and then actually it was a location in Suffolk, a beautiful cove on the coast in blue shining sea that you thought was Portugal. Well, no, actually it's a place in Dorset. Yep. So what I can say is that if channeled properly, we can use this time to enhance our own creativity. And I hope that the campaign that we've done for ourselves is actually a great advertisement for that. Because as we say in the ads, this is an advert for London advertising.
Well done, well done. Well, listen, thank you, Michael, for taking the time to talk to me today. I think the campaign is great. It's bold and fresh, and I think it deserves every success. So I wish you every success with it, and I hope to speak to you again soon.
Look forward to it. Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Bye now.